Alright, just sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
And his last year with the Washington, was it the Wizards? Played in all 82 games.
And he was, 56 years old?
135 years old.
He was 38 or 39.
Joe Louis was 135 years old.
Yeah.
Won his final championship fight to win 112 rounds. Matter of fact, he was 105 when he started and 106 when he finished. That was the month off for Christmas in between the 109th and 110th round.
Look at the little Tula. She's talking to the producer. Talking to a cat. And a woman in a jumpsuit throws her a grape.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, September the 27th, 2023. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me as always is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hi.
Pete is in the dark.
Pete.
In the dark.
Do 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 do. No, not continuing it. No. Okay. How are you, fine gentlemen, on this evening?
Fantastic.
Pete, yourself? I think he's fine. I think he just semaphored fine.
He's in his darkness retreat.
He's in his darkness retreat. To answer your question, yes. So he's in his darkness retreat, yes. So we'll discuss that afterwards. He will be answering sometimes through signals, sometimes through smoke signals, sometimes through semaphore and Morse code. Even will be involved at a certain point. Technology on the island tonight is lacking, so please forgive him. He does not, wish to.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
So awesome. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for paying attention to the show tonight, tuning in. We wanted to also let you know that technology will not be an issue 2 weeks from tonight, as for the first time in history of the Get On With It Sports podcast, the three of us will be together doing a live show, live broadcast somewhere in New Jersey. Yes, it's actually one of three places. We are going to post that information by tomorrow or Friday, this being the live show. So if you're rewatching this by Thursday, if you're watching this after Thursday or Friday, the 28th or 29th of September, it's already posted. Just go to the Facebook and website and Twitter and Instagram and everything else. You'll see the post for the live show with all the details. But yes, the three of us will be together, and the universe will not implode as formerly believed would happen.
Will it be at either a diner in New Jersey or a strip club?
It's absolutely going to be in a diner or a strip club.
I'm guessing it's going to be at a brewery.
It's either going to be at a brewery or a bar. That's where we're waiting on.
Perfect.
We're waiting on the preference is going to be a bar. But if the bar's going to let us know by tomorrow, if we can actually do it there, if they're okay with it.
I think there's probably a bar that you have in mind that maybe somebody might bartend at.
That might just be the one, right? Exactly. Right. So if that works out, that's the place we're doing it. If not, then it's a brewery. It's a specific brewery. So it's one of the two places. So
how exciting.
But it's going to be please show up, and there'll be some giveaways, and there'll be a lot of fun. You're going to want to be there. If
we get more than 5 people to show up, yeah, we need.
We'll call it a success.
What are going to be the giveaways?
Well, that'll all be in the post. You gotta tune in to see the post. All right. You got to click on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Which I'm sorry, X.
Twitter, Twatter,
X.
Pete's OnlyFans.
Pete's OnlyFans. We'll post it there as well. It'll be on our Twitch. It'll be on our.
What is Twitch?
Twitch is our new account.
It's a Tourette
live
site.
video. No. It's Twitch. Everybody has a Twitch. Yeah, exactly. So Twitch, our Twitch channel. We'll talk about that later. We have a comment here. Hold on. It's from Dave Scardino. He says, "Open mic night too. Absolutely. Please bring your drums.
Bring your accordion.
And your accordion. Yeah. And we want you to play the drums and the accordion simultaneously. That, my friend, is entertainment.
Yeah, we want you to do do hair grooming and Henny Youngman impersonation.
Hair grooming and Henny Youngman impersonation simultaneously. That's second.
Exactly.
That's for the second show that we'll do. So, in any event, we lost Pete again. Technology once again on the island.
All right, well, let's get this thing
tonight.
Let's get on with it.
Let's get on with it, as they say. Let's get rolling here. You have Johnny and Harry gonna give you the info. I wanna bring something up. I think we have Pete back now. This is fun. There we go. Is Pete back? There we go. Can you hear us, Pete? All right. Well, if you get to a point where we actually can hear you, please, chat away. So we're gonna start communicating here. Let me open this up. I want to bring up something. All right.
Bring it up.
Let's start with baseball, a little baseball really quick. I want to bring up the fact that the Mets and the Yankees are both out of the playoffs, as we know.
And both playing decent ball, at least the Yankees. I think the Yankees are on their way to being 19-9 in in the last, however, that 28 games.
But they're still out of it.
Well, they're out of the playoffs. They have a chance of not having a sub 500 record. Look, I think we all kind of figured this is, once when Judge went down, I think they were exposed for what they are.
Mm-hmm.
And they're old. They don't hit very well. They're unathletic. And while some of these younger, this is horrible. Some of these, so annoying. Some of these younger guys, I think, have some potential. We'll see. It's unfortunate too because, had Judge stayed healthy, he was on track for another, for 55 home runs and probably 115, 120 RBIs.
Mm-hmm.
And Garrett Cole is, I think again tonight making a case for being Cy Young. So it's too bad.
Right. I think he's got a good case for the Cy Young too. And there's an echo. All right. But hold on one second.
Yeah.
That we lost Pete again.
I think it's for the better at this point because
there you go.
Not very fun in my headphones.
Yeah, it's not fun for anybody else listening. So we apologize for that. In any event, whatchamacallit. So, well, one thing I wanted to bring up is the Mets are 3.5 games ahead of Washington right now in the NL East for the last place, right? And there's with 6 games to play, right? So 6 or 5 games to play.
Yeah. So odds are they won't wind up in last place.
Odds are they won't wind up in last place, but there's a possibility. Now, also, the Yankees are 4 games ahead of Boston with 6 games to play. 5 or 6 games to play. So, that's a possibility. Now, if that both happens, right? If they both happen to fall into last place, it will be the first time in history that both teams were in last place to finish a season. That's never happened in the history of Major League Baseball. Well, there's for the Yankees and the Mets anyway.
It's the first time for everything.
There's a first time for everything. This is true. So
now, if you want to feel better, the Rockies last night lost their 100th game of the season. So
it could be worse. It could be worse.
Could be worse.
Right.
Could be worse.
So, there you go. Pete's back with us.
When's the last time that happened?
That's crazy.
When's the last time you called in from a car phone? That sounds like a...
No, last time they lost 100 games.
Oh, the Rockies?
They never have.
They never have lost 100 games. No.
Wow.
There you go. Was that the car, the noise on the road, or your stomach? I'm not sure exactly.
It's the noise on the road. I'm going to try a little different audio setup once I get to where I'm going. I don't think this is going to work, guys.
All right, call back.
Because it's going to cut out.
It's going to keep cutting out.
It's going to cut out every time I have to make a stop.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. So when you're done, pop back on. That's all. So.
All right. Boot me out.
All right.
Can you do that, or do I have to do that?
I think I can do it. Hang on. Yep, I got it right here. All right. We'll talk to you in a bit.
All right. Kick me in.
Kicking you out. There you go. All right. So there you go. Dave also said, I'm sure this is in reference to the live show. Dave said, feel free not to discuss the Cowboys. Yeah, we're actually going to bring up the Cowboys in a little bit. So don't go anywhere, Dave. We're going to need your opinion on that. We'll actually be interested in your opinion. We'll be interested in Pete's opinion on it too. Unfortunately, he's having major technical difficulties tonight, so we apologize for that completely. In any event, I got one question. I got two questions for you, Harry.
All right.
And anybody else listening and wants to chime in. As far as let's start with the Mets. As far as the Mets go, obviously they hired Stearns as the president of baseball ops. Obviously, right? Does Buck Showalter come back next year as the manager?
I mean, I can't imagine he doesn't. I mean, there's not a lot of great managers out there unless they want to go in a really different direction. It took a lot for them to get Buck on board. Mm-hmm. The argument is this really Buck's fault?
No.
My thoughts on Buck Showalter.
It's not entirely Buck's fault.
It's the same thing with is he riding on his laurels? Do you need, in today's game of baseball, can you be an old school guy and win? And I think Dusty Baker has answered that question. I think that there's other people who have answered that question. So I guess it's more specific. Is Buck Showalter, is he being put in a situation where he can be successful?
Right.
Is there anything that's precluding him from doing that? And I don't really think there is. I just think that they've underperformed. They had some injuries. Mid-season, the ownership decided to clear house, at least with two of their veteran big-name pitching acquisitions. They still have they've got a great core that are locked up, for the most part for next year. They need to go out and probably find some pitching. Do I think the Mets on paper next year look as good as they were coming into this season? No, not at all. But
depending on how the offseason goes, right? Because you're going to have Stearns,
you're
going to have Stearns involved. So,
but what I hear from Mets fans all the time is, how much is the owner dictating things? Is the owner and Al Davis, is he really going to let anybody else have a say and control over personnel?
See, and that's where I'm like, that's where I wonder if I hear what you're saying, but
because we're right back to where it was previously.
But Steve Cohen doesn't have, and he professes the fact that he doesn't have the baseball acumen that some other managers, some other owners do. So he relies on. That's why he brought Sandy Alderson in the beginning, right, to lean on him, and he's going to do the same thing with Stearns now. And he didn't have Stearns last year. He didn't have him the year before. Obviously, Sandy Alderson has left already, but. With that in that case, is he really dictating anything, or is it all coming from Stearns? Or at that point, obviously, Epler is still going to remain involved. I agree with you. I don't think Buck is going anywhere, but there is a possibility because Craig Counsell with the Brewers, that Stearns worked closely with him. Obviously, it's his manager in Milwaukee. And his contract is done this year too. He either has to get a new contract or what have you, or go somewhere else. And if that's Stearns' boy, if Steve Cohen doesn't say you must keep Buck, is Stearns going to say, Showalter, you're out of here, Counsell, come on in? Which wouldn't be the worst thing. Craig Counsell's not a bad manager, but I think Showalter deserves at least another year with his closer involved, with maybe, another couple of pitching prospects, another bat, and try and do the right thing. Because it wasn't just the pitching and it wasn't just the closer. Everything tanked this year. Everything fell apart. Whatever could go wrong did go wrong.
Yeah, I think the Mets are in a similar situation to the Yankees. Is in some instances, I think they're getting a little long in the tooth. I think you have to have chemistry is a big thing. I think that this year, if any year, proves that, it's you get a 260 hitter, you got yourself an all-star. It's about pitching, it's about depth of pitching, and it's about timely runs. You don't need to be, if you look at the teams that are doing really well, they're loaded. The teams that are right underneath them, it's kind of hard to scratch your head. You got team batting averages that are in the 240s, and they're heading into the playoffs. So I think you got to have the right people. And I think the Mets mentality was the old school George Steinbrenner mentality. I'm going to go out and spend whatever money I need to in order to get the best team I could possibly put on paper. And that's really about going out and getting veterans that are probably either in their prime or past their prime. Right. And I think the Mets have to go about it a little differently because this offseason's crop of free agents are not going to be anywhere near what they were last year.
Sure.
And
well,
you got to go out and get the right people.
The other thing the Mets have is, the other thing the Mets have is they have a decent bunch of rookies right now that are up. Mauricio's killing it. He can't go anywhere. He has to stay up. They can't send him back down at the beginning of next season. He's got to remain as part of the core. So at that point, you're going to have Alonso at first. You probably have Mauricio at second, Lindor at third, and Lindor at short and Beatty at third. Unless honestly, Mauricio's a better glove than Beatty. So if he can be worked with, that's a different story that remains to be seen. But then have Jeff McNeil in the outfield. And they're talking about one. I did read one thing that actually did make sense. Have Jeff McNeil in one of the corner outfield positions, and then go out and get who was it? I'm sorry, Cody Bellinger. Yeah, go out and get Cody Bellinger, put him in center field, and then as a true center fielder, and then you can move Nimmo to the other corner outfield position, and there's your field.
And where's Marte?
Marte's on the bench, that's
a bad move. Yeah.
Well, what's he? What's he been doing? That's the problem,
right? Well, he's having a down year.
So if you have him on, right, he's having a down year. So you put him on the bench, and then you see what happens, right? You need a fourth outfielder. It's not like all three of them are going to play the outfield every day, And Marte can move around as well, at least the two corner outfield positions. So he can DH. He can.
You got Stewart, right?
DJ Stewart, if he remains with the team, then you obviously have there's another DH you can go back and forth with, and when he plays, you have those options, right? And then Alvarez behind the plate, they need somebody other than Omar Narvaez as a second catcher, but it is what it is, right? And then build, if you can pick up anything, but here's the other thing too, right? You have good prospects right now, better prospects than you've had. Obviously, a lot of them came with the trades that they made with Scherzer and Verlander. The biggest one being Luis Angel Acuna, but a few others as well. So, they have young, basically homegrown, right? Options to deal with. And that's going to take a couple of years. Do you stay with Buck to groom those rookies and groom those minor leaguers? Or do you move to a Craig Counsell? That's my question. That's not to be answered, right?
What has Craig Counsell done? And, why is he going to
Milwaukee's been relevant.
Right. But what I'm saying is why would he leave Milwaukee?
Well, his contract's done. And if Stern, the only reason this would happen, right, is if Stearns comes in and says, I don't want to work with Buck Showalter. I want him gone. Let's fire him, pay him his money, severance, get out of here. I want to bring Craig Counsell over. That's the only reason that's going to happen, right? It's got to be something like a kinship between Stearns and Counsell. Other than that, I think Showalter's staying, right? And I think Showalter's staying regardless anyway. That's besides the point. So we'll see what happens. Let's switch it over to the Yankees really quick, though. Does Aaron Boone come back next year?
Let's for a second there. Let's compare. So I think it's up in the air with Boone, and I think a little bit of it might be Boone. I don't know how much he really wants,
or he wants to do it, right?
Yeah. I think that for the most part, Boone is pretty well respected and liked by most of the players. I think that's also part of the problem, and he's had a lot of talent. Mm-hmm. He's done okay, but with the Yankees, it's you got to win a World Series. And I think that the bigger problem to Boone, for me personally, is that I just don't think that Cashman is the guy just to give to bring the talent in. Now, if that's just because the reins have been pulled in on him, that's one thing. I just don't think his record over the last few years has been all that great.
Yeah.
And so you take somebody like Craig Counsell, who the Milwaukee Brewers have basically been the same team as the Yankees with far less talent and a smaller payroll. They're good. They win the division most years. They, get into the playoffs and they flop.
Mm-hmm.
But they're good. They've been good, for the entire time that he's been there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So why would he leave? It's like, what do the Mets have to offer that he's not going to have in Milwaukee?
Well, it would be money, right? That's my point. It would be money, and that's the only reason that this would happen. It's not as if Craig Counsell's sitting there saying, "Hey, Milwaukee's been relevant. We've been the NL Central again this year."
Yeah. What does he want? What does he want? Three times. This will be the third time he's
something like that.
Yeah.
So, I don't think he's sitting there saying that, right? But his contract's done. So unless, and the Brewers may go to him and say, "Hey, look, we'll give you whatever you want. You're staying," right? But if Stearns, and this conversation may have been had already, between them, if Stearns wants to bring his buddy there, right?
Right.
Steve Cohen's, pockets are a little deep. He can make it happen, right?
Right.
So, that's the only reason I'm saying that would even be a possibility. Short of that, I don't think Buck Showalter's going anywhere. I really, really don't.
If to answer your question with the Yankees, if Cashman stays, which it sounds like he will, Boone's going to stay.
Unless he doesn't want to.
Yeah, and I think Boone does want to.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't been, no one's told him he's staying, but his contract is through next year. So I think he'll stay. And look, I think this is what I feared for the Yankees when they signed Aaron Judge.
Right.
Is that I think the Yankees are going to be a team that's going to have Judge, Cole, and a bunch of guys who, unless they really overperform, are going to put them in the same situation. Or the Yankees need to go out and be the Yankees and get the players to complete the lineup as they need it to be to win a championship.
Right. I got you.
If you look at the Yankees as a whole, okay, they have, I think the elephants in the room are Stanton, who some people are okay with. I'm not. I wish they could somehow magically get that contract off the books. I think that they settled for Rizzo, where in the past they would have had a Matt Olson at the very least, or a Freddie Freeman playing first base. I think that Torres is okay. He's having a bounce back year to some degree at second base. If he could continue to do that, then that's great. He's a good piece there. There's the Anthony Volpe lovers. Okay, if he's going to be this great, then let's see. Let's see it. He's not even close to what they could have invested in this past year as far as shortstop options. And at least we got rid of Josh Donaldson. So my happy moments with the Yankees over the last few years is that they've gotten rid of some of these atrocious albatrosses that they've tried to hold on to, whether it was Pride and Sanchez with, hey, he's our homegrown guy and we're going to ride him until he's no longer useful, or the Josh Donaldson deal, which was dumb in the first place. And he's hitting 160.
No, so, the Josh Donaldson deal and the Gary Sanchez deal was the same deal.
Well, so, but you know what I mean. I'm saying
that right. So that one deal was good and bad in the same respect.
Right. So. And it's like they just hold on to it. As far as their outfield goes, I think they got rid of their best outfielder defensively. They just decided to get rid of Bader, who was the only guy who was consistent in the playoffs last year.
I didn't understand that deal.
Yeah. Now maybe he'll be back. Who knows? My point being is that other than Aaron Judge, and look, I think Aaron Judge is great. I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound horrible. I think Aaron Judge is the least spectacular superstar that we've seen in baseball in a long time. Right. I think these guys who put up big home run numbers and, he's Mike Trout with a power forward's body, or tight end's body. It's just, it's like, can you win this way? And I don't know what the answer is. I would love to see the Yankees be able to manufacture runs other than the long ball. If Judge does not hit a home run, the Yankees don't win.
No.
And that's a problem, and it's going to continue to be a problem. Now, I hope they don't decide to move Cole, because I think we got one or two more really good years in him. I think that, maybe Nestor Cortez comes back and he's okay. Maybe, Carlos Rodon can actually recover from the injury that he had, and he can't be any worse. But I think they need to go after pitching. I think they need potentially another closer. I'm not sold on what they're doing on the back end of things. And they started winning when they had nothing to lose or nothing to play for. There was no pressure. I feel like this team kind of folds under pressure. Mm-hmm. So if I'm more excited about the Yankees or more excited about the Mets, this coming into this year, I was more excited about the Mets. I think thought they had a much better roster. But with where they're at right now, I think it's a wash. I think that it's really going to depend on what they do in the offseason. Mm-hmm. And if I had my druthers with the Yankees, I think that I would like to see Boone come back, but with Cashman gone, which is not going to happen.
Yeah, they're tied together. One goes, they both go. Right. One stays, they both stay.
And for the Mets, I just don't know, because I'm not in that locker room. Mm-hmm. But my gut tells me that maybe the Buck Showalter magic has run its course.
Well, that's the other thing I was going to bring up really quick. Is he being allowed to do his brand of managing? Is it all just analytics? I mean, we heard the stories that Steve Cohen revamped the analytics department, but he revamped the analytics department last season. So after last year winning 101 games, he revamps the analytics department, and right now they have won 72 games with 5 to play. Mm-hmm. So, they're about 30 games down from where they were last year, approximately. So I don't think it was a good thing, right? But is it because of that? I mean, one kind of leads to the other in my mind, right? So that's not Buck's brand of baseball. So, was he hamstrung? Was he being told what to do? Was being spoon-fed from Epler, and not so much Cohen, but Epler in the front office the analytics guys in the department as to what to do and how to manage. And that's, historically, that's not been the Buck Showalter brand of baseball. So no. Hopefully they got it right. Hopefully they realized, okay, this didn't work. This experiment didn't work. We got young players right now. We can bring up a couple others. We can do this. We can do that. Let's see what we're going to do next year. Let's put it back in Buck's hands. Give him another year of his brand of baseball with some analytics fed and work. Mesh him in when it works. The things that he may feel that are good. I can't speak to what they are, obviously, or even if there are any, but. That's fine, but let it be his brand of baseball and see what it is, and if his brand of baseball works with the younger kids and they actually come around and they're very deeply relevant again, well, let it continue, and if it doesn't, then it's a year clearly better than this year, hopefully, knock on wood. But the same thing with the Yankees. I think Aaron Boone deserves another shot, but only if Cashman does his job. I agree with you. I think Boone should stay, Cashman should go, but that's never going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and as I'm talking about Aaron Judge, he's just now has another 2 home run game. So
when it means nothing, he's killing it.
Well, I'm not sure it means nothing, but my point being is that Toronto's playing for a playoff spot.
Sure.
And the Yankees, at the end of the 7th, are up 6-0. And my point being is that this Yankees team, with their ace on the mound, can beat anybody if Judge hits and Cole is the starter. So they've got 2 of the best players in baseball on their team. They just need to invest in a little bit more depth. And I'm a broken recording here. I've always said that I worried about the Yankees lineup, especially the bottom of the lineup, for years now.
Right.
And they're pretty miserable. They're a pretty miserable team for the most part. Now, of course, you got Austin Wells hitting some clutch home runs. You got some of these other guys stepping up. They need to go out and they need to continue to put these young guys in there and commit to them. But they also need to go out and be the Yankees of old and get the best players they possibly can. If that means trading some of these young guys, so be it. Because let's say, okay, these guys do develop some of these position players into mediocre or even, all-star level guys. It's going to take another 2 to 3 years, and then Cole is shot, and their pitching prospects are not what their position player prospects are.
Right.
So pitching is more important than ever right now.
Yeah, I mean that's
more important than ever.
And that's a big problem with a lot of teams, right? Not a lot of teams, but often it's a problem, right? Where you get your pitching to this level, but your position players are down here. And then once these guys come up, the pitching has gone down. So hopefully where they meet,
right,
you can take advantage of that for a year or two and stay there and maintain, but whatever. All right. Let's really quick look at the standings. Baltimore and Tampa Bay have both. It's funny. The only single decision that has been made in the American League is Minnesota's won the AL Central, right?
Right.
And we're gonna a couple weeks from now on the live show when we're all together, we'll look at the standings and how everything else came out and who picked who and where and see how we did, right? But in any event, whatchamacallit, we got Baltimore and Tampa Bay have both clinched playoff spots, but they haven't clinched the neither one of them has clinched the division because Tampa Bay's 2.5 games behind Baltimore with, again, 5 games to go. Two games.
Yeah.
2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 games to go. No,
2 games behind.
The 2 games behind? Okay.
Yeah.
With 5 or 4, 5 games to go.
Yeah. I mean, odds are Baltimore will hold on.
Sure.
But, I think the more interesting question is, Texas looks like maybe they're going to hold on, which I didn't think going into this last month would be the case.
Baltimore and Tampa, whoever wins the division, the other one has the top wild card spot.
Of course, by a large margin. I mean, right now Tampa's 10.5 games up on the next closest wild card,
right?
And Toronto's losing to the Yankees right now, and so who knows? I mean, maybe Seattle will sneak in.
Seattle could sneak in. Right now, it's between Texas and Houston and Seattle. Seattle's only a half game back of Houston. Houston's 2.5 games back of Texas.
Seattle and Houston are both playing horrible ball right now.
Right. So it looks like Texas will hold on, but we'll right now Seattle is a half a game back in the wild card right now. If it were to end right now, if the season were to stop right now, Toronto, either Baltimore or Tampa Bay would have the wild card. Toronto would have the other one, and Houston would have the third. But Seattle could sneak in. That's it. Seattle's the only other one that could possibly sneak in and drop it out, either Houston or Toronto.
And Miami in the National League, Miami could sneak past the Cubs. It looks like the Diamondbacks are probably going to at least have one of those spots. And I think the sleeper team in the National League are the Phillies.
I mean, right now the 3 divisions are tied up, or they're done. Atlanta is by far the winner of the NL East. Milwaukee has won the NL Central, and the Dodgers have won the NL West. Philly has wrapped up a wild card spot, so they're in. They're pretty much going to be the top wild card.
Philly would be tied for the lead in the NL Central, and they're 13 games behind the Braves in the East. So it just goes to show you where these Central divisions have been weak spots, and I think they still are.
Exactly. And then right now, if the season again were to end right now, the Cubs and the Diamondbacks would have the other 2 spots.
With Miami on their heels.
With Miami right on their heels. Miami's only a game back, and Cincinnati's a game and a half back. So, they're that's a possibility too as we get closer. Everybody has like 5 games left. So,
and the Mets kind of playing spoilers with Miami. They won game 1 of a doubleheader today. I think they're tied up now in the middle of the 5th.
Yep.
It's interesting. It's I think I think that the obvious teams are going to be the teams that are going to be tough to beat in the postseason, and I really do think that if I had to rank number 1, number 2, I think it's think it's the Dodgers and the Braves, and not in that order. I think the Braves are a better team, but I think the National League has an advantage going into it. I'm not trying to discount Baltimore. I think Tampa's got a little bit more inconsistency. I thought Houston would be wrapping up the division, but they've struggled here down the stretch. And I'm not sure Texas is not as good as Baltimore. So at the end of the day, so we'll see. Baltimore's going to win 100 games probably, which is a big accomplishment. I mean, obviously, coach of the year, and there's a lot of accolades that need to be thrown, Baltimore's way. I also think that Tampa is one of those teams. They got a 196 run differential. If they hit and they play at the same time, they can be a dangerous team.
Agreed.
So we'll see. I do think that I'm looking forward to a Braves-Dodgers National League Championship Series. I think that's what it's pointing towards, and I think that's gonna be an all-star game.
Right.
Watching those two teams play is going to be an all-star game.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Here's the other thing, and I know he's missed a part of the year. I'm not so sure Clayton Kershaw shouldn't be talked about for a Cy Young Award.
There's a lot of interesting stuff to be looking at. So, and just one quick question to you: do you think there's anything that Colorado can do to climb back into it?
Well, look, here's...
And when I say climb back into it, I mean climb back into the seats to watch the playoffs.
Right. Here's what's going on in Denver right now. I mean, we had the hangover has worn off for the championship of the Nuggets. We have, again, a really horrible Broncos team.
Which we'll talk about in a minute, yeah.
A perennial shit show with the Rockies. And the Rockies need new ownership. The ownership of the Rockies is just they're not in it to win. They sell seats no matter what, because half of the time the stadium is filled 40 to 50 to 60% with the opposing team's fans in it. And it's a great place to go and a good stadium, and people show up and they make money, and their attendance is towards the top and not the bottom, as you would expect. But they haven't been good in a very, very long time, and I don't really foresee that changing anytime soon with this current ownership. And so it's hard. It's hard being a Rockies fan. It's quite miserable, and they should be embarrassed of this. If it wasn't for our good friends in Oakland, or I mean, that's the only team that's as bad are the Oakland A's. So I mean, they're 57 and 100.
Yep.
They're minus 231 in differential.
Run differential.
They are 40 games behind the Dodgers.
Yeah.
It's horrible. And look, they could win. They could lose 102, 103 games this year, easy.
Oh yeah.
So
they could lose. What do they have? They have 5 games left. They could lose 105 games.
So to answer your questions, there's nothing that's going to change with the Rockies unless the ownership changes and they actually give a fuck about anything to do with that organization, other than when it's IPA day or whatever other bullshit they run. And look, it's like a national park here. It's like it's just a place to go. There's a baseball team on the field, but nobody gives a shit.
Nobody gives a shit, right? And to your point, if it wasn't for Oakland, they'd be the laughing stock right now. Oakland's got 109 losses.
Right.
They're also 40 games behind the division leaders in their division, and their run differential is 334.
I understand. There's always worse, but it's not. It's disappointing.
It's very disappointing.
If you take, the Rockies in the beginning, they were competitive. They had a couple years there in the mid, aughts where they were, had a crazy wild year, made it to the World Series and got swept by the Red Sox. Since then, they have been a breeding ground for look, the Rockies have brought up some great talent.
And then they go on to other teams and win.
They go on to other teams because they just
Well,
don't
not
want to stay
necessarily win,
around.
but they go on to other teams.
Because they can't put together the right team. And it's
Win
not
more.
easy to pit. Look, we all know about the pitching here, blah, 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 blah. But they just need to actually want to be a competitor.
Gotcha.
And this ownership does it. And it's not going to change.
Yeah.
It's not going to change unless the ownership changes.
All right. Let's move on to some football since we have the football background up and I'm wearing a football jersey there. Let's talk about week 3 for a couple. First of all, let's just start off and get the 200-pound elephant out of the room. 300, 400-pound elephant, whatever you want to call it.
Taylor Swift.
Right? Taylor Swift. All right. With all of the things that happened this past weekend in week 3 in football. All right. The biggest of which, the Dolphins, and you should have been wearing a Broncos jersey tonight. That would have been perfect, right? But the Dolphins beating the Broncos.
I don't wear orange.
I know. But the Dolphins scoring 70 points. And they could have scored again. There was 6 minutes left in the game when they scored 70? When they scored this?
There were 7.5 minutes left. Here's honestly, the way it was going. I was sitting at a bar, getting some food, trying to watch the end of the Minnesota game and the craziness there, and some of the other. And I'm watching. Of course, the Broncos are on multiple televisions, and I'm watching this. And for a brief second in my head, with the way that they were scoring, I'm like, if they wanted to right now, they might get close to 100. They could. I think they could have gotten close to 100. Now they rammed on the brakes. They had backups in there, blah, blah, blah. The Broncos ran one back. Why the Broncos have Russell Wilson in there, I don't know, but that probably tells you a little bit about where Sean Payton is. I really honestly thought that it was going to be, they were going to score another 2 touchdowns. It would have been 84, 85, and that they would have been in striking distance of 100. Now, of course, that's a lot, but that's what it seemed like because it just kept escalating to the point where it was humorous. It was funny. And yet, the Broncos are favored against the Bears this week. So,
that tells you a little bit of the Bears, right?
But I also think that week 3 traditionally has been a week where wacky things happen and where the teams that everybody's got made out to be world beaters. Hello, Mr. Dak Prescott. Are maybe not necessarily world beaters.
Right.
So week 3 is always that week where crazy things happen. Now, it was kind of there were some good games.
Well, hold on. Before you get to them, what I was saying was Taylor Swift with the whole Travis Kelce and the Chiefs game and everything else. That with the 70 points that were scored and the other things that happened, right? The biggest story in the news since Sunday was Taylor Swift was at a Chiefs game.
She's a phenomenon. And I'm going to say this because I don't want to sound like old guy hater. I don't understand it. But it doesn't surprise me. In a country that is obsessed with who puts trials about somebody shitting in somebody's bed on television for 2 weeks, about people who watch idiots in costumes sing songs and do karaoke, and who sell out Luke Combs shows. It doesn't surprise me. She's a phenomenon. People love her. Travis Kelce, even if he doesn't spend another day with her, he has his shirt sales have gone up 400%. He's added 100,000 followers on Instagram.
More than that,
or whatever that 300,000. I'm sorry. But the reality of it is you're right. Who cares? But that's people are more interested in that. Taylor Swift went to Kansas City than look. Taylor Swift showed up at that game. The Bears did not.
No, not at all. Whatchamacallit? I watched a video. Now, it could very well have been staged. It could very well have been put together, but it didn't seem as if it was. So if it wasn't a setup, it was very well executed. It was very well done. I'm going to tell you. It was a guy walking in and his wife telling him that she's, can he believe that this nobody named Travis Kelce is now going to be so famous because Taylor Swift came to see him and hang out with him? And she's done wonders for his career, and he's going to take off. He's going to be a superstar now because Taylor Swift showed up at the.
He's the best tight end in football.
Right. Yeah. So and the husband was like, please tell me you're kidding. Right. So, but I did see one meme that somebody on one of our viewers right now, one of our watchers right now, is not going to be happy about, but I'll read it. The NFL explained for Swifties new to football. 1, you have 4 downs to go 10 yards. 2, if you make a first down, you keep the ball and the cycle repeats. If you don't, the other team gets the ball. 3, you can score touchdowns for 6 points or kick a field goal for 3 points. 4, the Dallas Cowboys always suck no matter how much their fans will try to convince you otherwise.
Yeah.
That is NFL explained for Swifties new to football. I did not write it, Dave. Please do not hate on me. I just passing along.
I mean, look. Here's
a meme that was done by NFL memes, by the way.
Here's the thing with the NFL. There's a lot of parody, and you can be exposed even by not a great team. And Dallas was their defense was exposed. They didn't show up.
No,
they didn't show up.
They didn't. Here you go. Dave Scarnett just said Belichick said Taylor Swift was the Kelce's best catch of his career. Yes.
Well, what's interesting is that Taylor Swift was in Travis Kelce's box during the game.
Then afterwards,
after the game,
I don't know. The old switcheroo. Although at the Cowboys game in Arizona on Sunday, Chris Christie was seen sitting next to Jerry Jones, and somebody put up,
who fucking cares about any of that?
Somebody put up, I wonder who on the Dallas Cowboys Chris Christie is dating. Anyway, but in any event,
wouldn't surprise me if Chris Christie was a Cowboys fan.
Right. I think he is actually.
Yeah, who fucking cares? I mean, who cares about any of this? It's the more important thing is that the Cowboys lost, the Giants still suck, and Tom Brady has not shown up. Well, in New York yet, and we're going to get Trevor Siemian instead.
Yeah, that's something to be talked about. Let's dive into that. Let's start with the Giants sucking. All right. I want to ask you your opinion, and I know what it's going to be, but I'll have a rebut unless you surprise me with your comeback. Yes, the Giants lost yet again last Thursday night. Now, granted, they were playing. They were playing an
NFL team.
They were playing an NFL team, right? They were playing one of the best NFL teams against probably the best defense in
top 3.
Definitely top 3, possibly top 2, very possibly top 1. But in any event,
absolutely.
But they were in it. They were at least in it, and they were at least in it without Saquon Barkley. Yeah. Okay, so there was that. However, my question to you is this: is it Daniel Jones? Or is it the offensive line?
Yes. It's both. Right. I mean, look, you know how I feel about Daniel Jones. He looks scared out of his mind, as he should be.
Compared to Zach Wilson, though, he looks like he's the most confident quarterback.
Right. He's a way better quarterback than Zach Wilson. So am I. There's many teams right now in the NFL who are playing with maybe the worst batch of offensive linemen in the history of the game. And I can't remember which I guess it was who does Myles Garrett play for? The Browns, right?
The Browns, yeah.
Yeah. Who were they playing? That was the question I meant to ask.
Browns were playing Browns played the
whoever it was.
Yeah, the Browns played the Titans.
They were shifting 2 guys. Basically to wherever he went on the field. So they at least understood that when you have these great edge rushers, that you need to give help. There is no possible way. We have to rethink what a left tackle is. A left tackle at times used to go up against an outside linebacker or a defensive end in a 5-3. No longer. Now they go up against guys who are 6'2", 200 pounds, who have twice the speed that they do and can pick them up and move them like a dumpster. So these great left tackles, even the best of them, cannot stop these guys one-on-one. And until teams such as the Giants realize that, now the Giants were without their best offensive lineman again.
Mm-hmm.
Evan Neal is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, who everybody thinks is so great, is okay.
Mm-hmm.
He's okay.
He's okay.
And their offensive schemes are miserable.
Mm-hmm.
So we've heard about all these wonderful tight ends, the depth of tight end that they have. I don't see it. I don't think they have great options on the receiving end. And unless you are able to drop back and throw the ball within 3 seconds, Daniel Jones is going to continue.
Less than that. It's 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
You in 2 seconds, he's on the ground or running.
Daniel Jones is going to continue to be demolished. So yes, if the Giants can get Saquon Barkley back, which looks optimistic, and they can actually open up some holes for him, then they have a chance of being in some games. Okay, but they're going to stack the line because they know that's what the Giants want to do and run it, because they have no fear of them being in one-on-one coverage in the backfield.
Right.
They just don't.
Agreed.
And so, as I've said, and look, I'm very fair with the Giants. I want the Giants to be great, but I do think that the personnel that they have they're at best a mediocre team. That's it.
Yeah.
They're at best a mediocre team.
Once again,
I think the Giants,
many other people going into the season, not you though.
Right.
Not you.
I think the Giants are like I said, I think if you look at their schedule, they have a much harder schedule this year than they did last year. Mm-hmm. I think realistically, if the Giants win 7 games, it's a success. Mm-hmm. Especially now with what they're looking at with Saquon being out. Now, hopefully he plays this upcoming week. It sounds like maybe he will. But again, you don't want to rush him back too early and subject him to, something
further injury. Yeah.
Further injury. Yeah. The problem with the teams that have offensive lines that can block and offensive schemes that are about a quick, short passing game are going to continue to excel in this league. Even if you look at what the Chiefs are doing with Patrick Mahomes and they're not playing this long downfield game that they used to anymore. Mm-hmm. The only team that is right now are the Miami Dolphins, and we'll see where that actually leads them. But there are a lot of really bad offensive linemen starting in the NFL right now, and there are a lot of really good edge rushers who are out there right now, and those teams are being exposed. Now, if you look at maybe one of the best in Mike Parsons with Dallas, they were exposed by exploiting the center of the field against those guys. Mm-hmm. So they said, you know what, we're going to let you run past us, or we're going to take you out of the play. We're not going to try to take you one-on-one. We're not going to give you the time to get to our quarterback. We're going to dominate in the middle of the field. Mm-hmm. And so you can beat it. You can win. But I just don't think the Giants have the personnel nor the offensive creativity in order to do that. They're the Giants that they've always been.
It's a shame, and you look at some of the scenes, and granted, I've watched it during a couple of games, but I've watched it after the fact, and you don't know when the cutaways are happening exactly. Right. When it could be done specifically for this purpose, right? Right. But I mean, Dable's been calling plays.
Yes, that's obvious.
Doing nothing. He's just sitting there watching. He's sitting there looking. Watching, nothing. I mean, maybe he's communicating with Dable.
To their credit, I think they do a lot of batch calling. I think there's batch plays that are in there, whatever the case might be.
Right.
And look, and that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that they're not aggressive, and they just fundamentally they're going to get Daniel Jones hurt or Saquon Barkley hurt even more if they don't get better blocking. It's at times horrible. Now, having said that, I think it's even worse for the Jets. And this was a big question mark even when the Aaron Rodgers, optimism was there. The Jets' offensive line looks pretty bad too, and their play calling also looks equally inflexible of adapting to what it was that they need to be. Now, granted, Zach Wilson maybe had the worst game by an NFL quarterback in a long time.
He actually got sacked. He actually got sacked by no one.
He's just giving up.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to be in there.
No.
So, do I think this Jets team is a quarterback away from being a contender? I mean, the quarterback makes a big difference. However, I think that their timing is off, and I think that their blocking schemes are pretty horrible. Mm-hmm. So they don't have the talent up front to compete right now.
No. I don't look. They went out and signed Trevor Siemian. I have no idea why.
Neither.
For practice squad. I don't know if you saw it, but a letter was written to Joe Douglas. Did you see this?
Well, who wrote the letter? Was that Kaepernick or Carson Wentz?
Colin Kaepernick, yeah.
Well, Kaepernick and Carson Wentz have specifically contacted the Jets. Mm-hmm. Kaepernick just wanted to be on the practice squad.
He wants to take the practice squad out and get the defense ready with actual better quarterback on the practice squad every week. And then he'd be there if needed.
My take on Colin Kaepernick is this. I commend him for what he did. How he did it, you can argue. I think it took guts. Okay? From a football standpoint, Colin Kaepernick's not a good quarterback.
No. If Colin Kaepernick were a good quarterback, he'd be in the league. Plain and simple. If he were a good quarterback, he'd be in the league. But let's not get down. Let's not get to. You don't think so?
No.
Never.
I think he's not going to be in the league now because he's been out of the game long enough or so long that now that's the excuse. Right. I think the NFL did him dirty, and they've won now because now he's been gone so long that no one's going to take a look at him. They colluded, they fucked him over and kept him out of the league. They blackballed him because he protested, and they listened to the, 30 to 40% of their audience who are gung-ho patriots and, you don't disrespect the flag. And they didn't listen to the 30 to 40% who believe in being able to express yourself. So they blackballed him, and he's out. Is he the answer to anyone's quarterback problems? Probably not. Was he a great quarterback? No. But he got to a Super Bowl. And I'll tell you what, at the time, he was a hell of a lot better than a lot of guys that weren't starters.
Well, let's not get down to Colin Kaepernick. Let's not get down to Colin Kaepernick rabbit hole because we just happened to mention that.
I'm just saying. Look, if he wants a job, and I know he wrote a letter to the Jets, which I don't think he wrote. I think someone else wrote it. If he really wants a job, call up the Raiders.
Taylor Swift wrote it.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Well, no, because it's just that's not how things work. You don't join the practice squad to help beef up the defense.
Right.
Maybe it's a new way back into the NFL, but if you really want the job, call up the Raiders. They're the one that gave him a tryout.
If Colin Kaepernick didn't write that letter, then he crossed the picket line because there's a writer's strike right now.
That's true. That's very true. That's true. It's
entertaining.
It is. There you go. It is entertaining. That's for sure. It is entertaining.
So, but I don't buy this line that he's. I mean, I know he's not great, but I don't buy this line that he didn't really deserve to play, and that's why nobody wanted him. Nobody wanted him because he was controversial.
I think now. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, right. And now the NFL's won because he's been out of the league. When was his last game? 2016?
2016.
6-7 years ago.
2016. So now it's, 7 years ago. So and now they can say, well, now he's been gone for too long and nobody's interested.
I think the Jets are going the way of the Mets. They're looking at this year as a training year, and they're gonna put everything back in on next year again. Another chance with Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
Yeah,
if not, they would not be adding Trevor Siemian.
Yeah. Well, I personally, and I've said it to both of you, and I said it, 2 weeks ago jokingly, but it's true. I mean, why not take a flyer on Carson Wentz? You're going to get him on the cheap. He's not playing. Okay. At least he can build up some stats and maybe show himself off a little bit and get himself a job next year, right? Go get him. Go get what's the difference?
Matt Ryan was the other one.
No, I think
Matt Ryan did reach out to them, but they said no, thank you. And then they contacted somebody was interviewing Matt Ryan after the fact, and he said, "Forget it now." I asked, they said no, goodbye.
No, if you're gonna try and build up somebody's stats, then you might as well try and build up Zach Wilson's stats.
Can you?
I don't know, but there's nobody that's going to help them be a winning team.
That's what we just came to the conclusion.
There's no one. They don't have the draft capital to go get Kirk Cousins. There's really nobody. So they brought in Simeon, who is a veteran. The guy's played on 6 different teams or something like that.
Yeah, well, he played on the Broncos and he wasn't good.
Yeah, but he's been around. He's been around. He's watched a lot of guys play in front of him, and it just as a veteran presence, maybe he can offer some insight or give you another option besides the practice squad guy who's the backup.
Wilson is going to be out of there in a week. Simeon will be in there, and he's just there as a placeholder. He's just there as a placeholder.
Yeah,
Here's my thing.
You might have one game where he becomes Mike White, but that's
Here's my thing. Okay. If they're hanging their hat on Aaron Rodgers coming back next year and picking up where they left off after 4 plays in week 1, okay? And that's what they're hanging their hat on. They don't need Kirk Cousins, okay? Yeah. A quick aside really quick. But
Cousins in the last year of his contract. So the idea would be rather than waste this year and this defense, let's try and take a shot at something. And then he's gone and Rodgers comes back.
He'd already be there because the Jets are one more loss away from being out of the fucking playoffs completely.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So, they got one more week.
Especially unless Tua gets hurt, I think we know what 2 teams are going to the playoffs from the AFC East.
Right, and even though New England has the same record as the Jets, they're a much better team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
as evidenced by this past week.
But here's where I was with the Carson Wentz thing, and I'll drop it after that. Here's what I was with the Carson Wentz thing. If this team was going to succeed and maybe not win a Super Bowl, but do very well, go deep in the playoffs, whatever you want to say, with Aaron Rodgers, okay, and then after he went down, everybody circled the wagons, and the discussion was, okay, well we have the tools, we have the talent on offense. We certainly have the defense. If we can just get a game manager that's not going to turn the ball over, our defense can hold us in the games. We can run the ball. We can throw the ball conservatively, score as much as we need to, and win games, right? So Zach Wilson's not that guy. Carson Wentz might be that guy. That's the only reason I was saying. So Carson Wentz is smart enough of a football player. Now, is he Aaron Rodgers? Not by a long shot. He's not even Kirk Cousins by a long shot. He's not.
That's my point. If they thought they could win this year,
he's serviceable enough to hold down the offense, hold down the fort.
I think Trevor Siemian is just as good as Carson Wentz.
You think?
Yeah, I think there's one.
I think if they thought they could win, Kirk Cousins would be there right now.
Your theory is sound, John, but there's one flaw in it.
What's that?
And that is the offensive line is terrible.
Yes.
Right.
And it doesn't matter who you put back there. And Carson Wentz certainly is not the guy you want to put behind a leaky offensive line.
No.
He is not.
He had a leaky offensive line in Indy, and so
he had what? So I agree with everything you said, John. I think they don't have a defensive line to protect anybody. So why go out and get anybody?
I think they realized that this offensive line was worse than they thought it was. And they basically looked at each other and said, we could go out and get a veteran and give up this draft capital and everything else, but we're not winning. And we probably weren't going to win with Aaron Rodgers. Now, they would have been a lot better.
Yeah. Whoever they go and get is just going to get chased around the way Aaron Rodgers was chased around the first 4 plays that he played, or the only 4 plays that he played. Mm-hmm. He was running for his life for 2 of them and got sacked and hurt on the last one. So, yeah, I think they're in a no-win. Look, whether it's I can't believe what's the practice guy's name, the backup, Bradley or something like that. I don't think he'll probably get some reps, but yeah, I think Simeon's probably the guy they're going to put in. You give Zach another week or 2, and the defense is still young. You'll have most of them back next year, I think. I don't know all the breakdown, but so yeah, whether it's Rodgers or if you find out Rodgers isn't coming back, then you make something else.
Yeah.
You make other arrangements.
Didn't Simeon start a game for the Jets like in 2000?
Yeah, he actually was on the Jets. I think like early in his career, might have been the first team he was on actually.
No, Denver was he played Denver for 3 years.
Denver was the first.
And then one year I think I think he went like 8-5 with the Broncos. I mean, he wasn't horrible, but he wasn't. He at his best he's 60% completions. He doesn't throw a ton of touchdowns, and his interception rate is pretty high. So
he was post Osweiler, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, they got rid of Osweiler, and then they thought he was going to be the guy, and then he wasn't the guy. Right. And since then, he's bounced around everywhere. I just want to say one other thing before I forget. I want to say one thing sort of in defense of Zach Wilson. Not that I think he's going to be a good player, and we know he didn't blossom under the tutelage of Aaron Rodgers for 5 weeks of training camp or whatever. I want to jag the coaches a little bit for the last play against New England. Yes, Zach Wilson threw a 2-yard pass to a check down when only a first down of, 15 or 13 or whatever it was, was going to keep the game from being over. My question is, why was there anyone 2 fucking yards down the field? Why even have that option?
Right.
Now, again, he has to know better than to take that option. You throw it up, you put it up, and you let Garrett Wilson go get it, or whoever else, whoever's the least covered, whoever's not double covered, you toss it up there if no one's open, and you say, go get it. If it gets intercepted or it falls to the ground, okay, then the game's over. Why would you even have anyone in a position to catch a 2-yard pass?
Right.
In a 4th and long.
Right.
So I have to blame the coaching staff for that.
And
I understand that guy's that's his normal spot for that play, but in that instance, you have to say to him, "Hey, just fucking run down the field 15, 16 yards or whatever it is, and maybe you'll catch a pass."
Agreed.
Swing your head around and be ready.
I think Nathaniel Hackett is under more. I think he'll be gone before Zach Wilson will be gone. I'm honest with you. I think if
Nathaniel Hackett goes, Aaron Rodgers not playing next year.
I know. That's the only reason why he's staying, though. Because I'll tell you what, he's been horrible.
Yeah. Well,
the whole team's been horrible.
Yeah.
Rodgers got hurt, and it took 2 weeks for them to turn into a clown show.
Yep. The other thing I was going to say is, I mean, Randall Cobb actually blamed himself for that Hail Mary at the end that he quite honestly should have had, and they should have won, and they could have won the game. But,
I don't know about that.
But regardless of that,
he didn't have his.
He didn't have his. He's gonna say that because he's a veteran and he's gonna take that responsibility.
Of course.
And look, Aaron Rodgers is saying all the right things. Hopefully, he hinted that he might show up at the Kansas City game, and hopefully he's gonna be there as soon as he's physically able to be helping the team. But even if they Cobb or anybody for that matter catches that ball and they win the game, it's a fluke. It doesn't change anything really.
No, of course it doesn't.
Because everything up to that point was terrible, except for like one drive.
Right.
So
agreed.
The Jets are who they are.
Here's the bigger
and
question.
They will be.
Here's the bigger question now. If Aaron Rodgers does show up at the Chiefs game, that's going to be cool, and hopefully he can do whatever he has to do and help however he can help, because they're going to need a lot of help for that game, right? But the bigger question, I think, that is on everybody in America's mind is, will Taylor Swift show up for that game?
Who fucking cares?
Well, listen, that could be the indicator that.
It could be the indicator.
Maybe Aaron Rodgers will steal Taylor Swift away from
Travis Kelce, right? Exactly. Yeah. He's too old for her.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Hey, on a sporting news that's actually positive. Garrett Cole just pitched a complete 2-hit game against the playoff-bound Toronto Blue Jays, winning his 15th game of the year and lowering his ERA to 2.63. I think he just wrapped up the Cy Young Award, folks.
That looks like he did that. Yeah, that looks definitely like he did that. In any event, I joke about the whole Taylor Swift thing, but look at the Jets really quick. I mean, this week they're home Sunday, 8:20 game against the Chiefs. Right. Following week, they're in Denver against the Broncos. Then they're home against the Eagles. Then they have a bye. Then they are home, but really away against the Giants, and then home for the Chargers. Away at the Raiders. Away at the Bills.
They could go 500 in the next 6 games.
Yeah,
but they won't.
They won't. They're not gonna. They should be 1-3 after next week. Let's face it. They're the Chiefs. You know.
The Chiefs are beatable, but not by the Jets.
Right. Exchange of things. The Jets, the way they played the Patriots, not beating the Chiefs. Right. They could beat the Broncos. You know that they're not beating the Eagles. They could beat the Giants. Let's face it.
Yeah.
The Chargers. I don't think they're beating the Chargers. They could beat the Raiders. They could beat the Chargers.
Chargers aren't that good.
It depends. If the way they're playing, if the way they played the Patriots is indicative of how they're going to play each and every game going forward, and of course that can change week to week.
The thing the Jets had going for them is that it started out rough, but if they had gone out and gotten a veteran quarterback, they could have salvaged this season.
They could have. Pete, we have 2 of you. Now we have.
Yeah, I know. I got booted out. There we go.
Yeah,
Long Island, one of the most overdeveloped places on earth, with some of the worst communications infrastructure in the world.
All right. Well, are we wrapping this show up or what? Because this has been going on way too long.
We've been talking about it. So look, there's a lot that we can talk about. I just wanted to mention a couple of the games. Like we just talked too long about the Giants and the Jets as we normally do, right? But look, the Lions beat the Falcons. Look, people thought the Falcons might have brought up to the task to give them a better game, but I'm just pretty confident the Lions were going to win that one. But the Saints and the Packers game, that was an interesting game. Packers came back at the end. They were down 7.
Packers got lucky.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, you never know. Chargers beating the Vikings. Both teams. I mean, either one of them could have been 0-3, right? So one of them had to lose. Texans beating the Jags. What did you think of that?
Jacksonville's got some problems, and somebody said that the Jaguars would fall back to earth this year.
Who was that, Harry?
I think it was me.
I think it might have been you. Yeah. But as we said before, 70 points by the Dolphins. It's just stupid, right? Look, there were a lot of other games too. The Commanders were 2-0, and the Bills, brought them back to earth. 37-3.
Washed up Josh Allen's, I think, back.
Yeah, exactly.
Josh Allen, the turnover machine.
And the Ravens are the Ravens. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
This whole the new Lamar Jackson looks just like the old
Lamar Jackson. Yeah, exactly. The Bears, we knew they weren't.
Slower.
Yeah,
tiny bit small. Yeah, the Bears we knew weren't going to show up, but that Chiefs-Bears game was over in the first quarter. Yeah. So that was kind of a boring game to watch. And then they switched everybody in this area over to the Dallas Cardinals game. So, but hey, you know what? It was week 3, as Harry said before. Week 3, a lot of strange things happened. So, anyway, all right. I am good. How are you? How are you guys?
Well, I mean, we haven't talked about the biggest sports news of the day.
Well, please bring it up.
I mean, Damian Lillard, Mr. I want to win it alone. I'm going to stay in Portland. Mm-hmm. Now I want to trade. Has now started his own build a super team, and it sounds like he's going to be playing for the Milwaukee Bucks along with the Greek Freak, Giannis. They lose, I think, a pretty important player, Drew Holiday, who's going to Portland along with DeAndre Ayton, who the Suns couldn't get rid of quicker. And, Phoenix gets a whole bunch of Nurkics and fucking cast-offs from Portland.
Mhm.
But, Vegas already has the Bucks as the favorite in the East. And actually, they're the favorites to win the NBA championship right now. So we'll see. It's interesting to me. I think that I've always been a big Damian Lillard fan. Is Damian Lillard the kind of guy who can adjust his game to playing a team game, and can he get the ball to Giannis enough for the Bucks to continue to be the Bucks?
I don't know. Well, we're going to find out.
We are.
Certainly.
But I mean, that's a huge trade, especially after everybody thinking he's going to go to Miami. Look, whatever you say about
No, it's too late. I apologize.
No, that's okay. No, that's okay. That's for you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Take care. So
you have a good one.
you take the Brewers, you take the Bucks. Look, those Milwaukee teams know what they're doing. And this is probably going to be what Giannis needed to keep him there. So all you Knicks fans out there thinking there was a shot in hell that he was going to go to the Knicks after the season, it ain't happening. Not unless this thing crashes and burns.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen either. I don't know. So anyway, we lost Pete again. All right. Well, I think we're good.
I think we're good. So,
all right. Well, once again, folks, pay attention. We will post it tomorrow, which is Thursday, September the 28th, or Friday, September the 29th.
I guess we'll post our picks then, too.
We'll post our picks as well. Bring Pete back on for a second. We'll post it. We'll post the show, the locations, the details of the live show in 2 weeks. And just for fun, we might have Pete do it from his phone while sitting next to Harry and I.
Yeah, that would. while delivering pharmaceuticals to the crowd.
Exactly. Yeah, just walk around the crowd.
Hey, if you bring pharmaceuticals to the live show, we might get some people there.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true.
Very true.
I'll see if I can stock up.
See if you can get some Ozempic.
I might have some.
There you go. All right. There you go. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Let me just ask you guys this question quickly.
You got it.
Who's the worst NFL team
right now?
Yeah, is it the Bears?
I think it's the Bears.
It's got to be the Bears. Yeah, it's got to be the Bears.
Although
I think that's right.
Although the Broncos look pretty shitty.
Yeah, I mean,
Yet they're favored against the Bears. So if you ask Vegas, the Bears are the worst team.
Bears are the worst team.
Yeah.
There's a handful of shitty teams in the NFL right now. We'll know more in a few weeks.
Yeah, I don't know how long the shine stays on Sean Payton, but it can't be that much longer.
No, it can't. And
I mean, this is a very "what have you done for me lately" league, and he hasn't done much lately. And nobody gets beat by 70 in the NFL
anymore.
I'll tell you the other team that's quietly looking pretty bad, and that's the Panthers. They don't look very good.
Yeah, they do not look good at all.
No, Panthers do not look good.
But who might be the surprise, at least defensively so far, is the Cleveland Browns.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, actually, looking forward to. I think they're playing the Ravens now.
Yeah,
this upcoming week. So, see if
we were talking about Cleveland a little bit. I mean, they haven't had a tough schedule yet, but their defense is really good. And look, Cleveland's plus 4. Cleveland's 2-1, but they're plus 41.
By the way, just to point out one fact that I was going to bring up before, but I did not. The last time 70 points or more was scored in the NFL was November 27th, 1966. The Redskins scored 72 points against the Giants. The Giants scored 41 points in that game.
Yeah.
You would think the team goes out and scores 41 points, they win a game. Nope.
I mean, that's a 1990s Knicks Pistons NBA game.
Right.
Yeah, that's an NBA. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the Chiefs hung 41 or whatever on the Bears.
41.
The Cowboys shellacked the Giants 40. That wasn't 70.
No.
I mean, those were some. There've been some bad losses, but man, 70. I mean, that is a combination of a really bad defense and a really good offense. It's just, I mean, it's.
Yep.
I'm a little mind boggled by it. I have to admit. And of course, it's got to be the freaking Dolphins.
Right.
All right. I'll shut up now.
All right. No worries.
He shows up in 2 hours and prolongs the show by 25 minutes anyway.
In the dark with shitty audio. Thank you.
In the dark with lousy audio. Yeah.
There you go. In the dark, that's the new name of the podcast. In the dark with lousy audio.
I mean, this is the Get On With It podcast. If you want professional, you come to the wrong place.
Yeah, go somewhere else.
That's right. I think I'm going to take a week off, and the next week should just be you. And you should leave your audio on, and just all the interactions with your delivery should be.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Why not?
The hell not?
That's a fun show to me.
That would be a fun show. Right.
I know. Maybe we could dress you in like a bear costume or something, or a chicken or something. That would be great.
Exactly.
I don't want to brag, but after that last transaction, I am $2 richer.
All right. Yes. Yeah. All right.
So,
that was a Marv Albert. Yes.
Yeah. All right, so I am on my way home.
All right.
Of course, now as we're wrapping up, everything's great.
Exactly. So,
all right.
But
all right, we'll
see each other again next week.
We will. We'll definitely do that. All right. On that note, we will wrap the show up for today. We want to thank everybody for watching, and for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thank you for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and, of course, Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all of our shows are available on YouTube as well on the Locker Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on Facebook, YouTube, our YouTube channel, our Twitch channel, and our Twitter page as well, every Wednesday night around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on our brand new host, Spreaker, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcast, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. Pretty much anywhere you can get a podcast, you can find the Get On With It podcast. So,
all right.
And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. And we will talk to you soon, folks. Watch a lot of sports. And pay attention to our Facebook page over the next couple of days. The 28th and 29th of September, we will post all the details for our live show on Wednesday, October 11th. And we will talk to you. Take care, folks. Cheers.
Good job getting on Twitch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's the greatest. He's the greatest third baseman ever, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's definitely better than Cal Ripken Jr. I'm going to leave it at that.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
No, he's not the best third baseman of all time. George Brett is the best third baseman of all time, but Brooks Robinson was phenomenal.
Yes.
All right. We can have that debate in a couple weeks.
Can.
No, he was. We'll talk about that a little bit more. We should have devoted to it a little bit.
Statistically, Brett destroys him. But
that's true.
But Brooks Robinson is the best, I think, the best Oriole of all time, with the exception of maybe. Well, we'll discuss that. He's amazing, and God rest his soul.
Let's bring it up. We'll talk about it. I know next week's the fun show, but we'll talk about it a little bit for a couple minutes in next week's show. All right. Take care, folks. Cheers.
Bye, everybody.
Look at